Thank you. Okay, so we're going to talk about safety in the garden, and we're going to mention how that applies to bees as we go along. And we're going to have 3 honey bears full of honey to give away from our beehives, which you'll see later in the presentation. First, though, we got to go through the science because this is about chemicals. The whole deal with safety in the garden is all tied to toxicity. And the EPA talks about LD50, which is lethal dose 50, which is when it kills half the subjects. Whatever dose it takes to kill half of the mice or whatever they're testing, that's the LD50 concentration of chemical. And they have a complicated formula. It's based on the milligrams of product per kilogram of body weight. So the metric system is alive and well in this area. The LD50 of some common chemicals that we use. LD50 for compass is 5,000 mgs per kg. Conserves another around 5,000. Roundup's around 5,000. Mancozeb is almost 5,000. Honor Guard is down to the 3,000 level. And Rose Pride is only 1,600, but we're going to come back to Rose Pride in a minute. So what does that mean? What does it mean to us that don't use aren't that comfortable with the metric system? Well, a 150-pound person is 68 kilograms. And 5,000 mgs times that 68 is 340,000 mgs, which is 340 grams. It's still not making much sense to me. But a cup of milk is about 245 grams. So we're talking about really just around a cup and a half of skim milk would give you an LD50 of 5,000 mgs per kg for 150. So you can sort of adjust it down. But that's what quantity we're looking at of the active ingredient, not of the diluted water part. The EPA also has what they call signal words. And it's a bizarre system because caution is the first one, caution is also the second one, and warning is the third one, danger is the fourth one, and danger poison is the fifth one, but there's only 4 categories. So it gets a little confusing. Caution, you have category 4, you don't even have to put the caution label on. But if you put a label on, you have to say caution. Then there's the real caution. Then there's warning, and now that's 3. We only have category 1 left, and remember we had danger and danger poison, but they don't care. Category 1 is both danger and danger poison. So that's Washington for you. Modes of entry. So that's what we have to figure out is how these things are going to be dangerous to us. Of course, obviously, do not drink this stuff, right? So swallowing is, an oral dose is a very bad thing. Inhaling is another way that you can get this into your lungs. Skin exposure, where it gets dumped on you, and that's a very common one because you can spill the chemicals on you when you're mixing. So skin exposure is a biggie, but the most important one is eye exposure for us. That's what we really have to worry about. So what does caution mean? Well, and I'm talking about the real caution, not the pretend caution that you don't always have to put on. The real caution is slightly toxic or relatively non-toxic by any of those modes of entry, whether you drink it, or you get it on your skin, or you get it in your eyes. Pretty benign. Warning, it's moderately hazardous by at least one of them, and sometimes more. Danger, highly hazardous by at least one of those, so it might be hazardous if you eat it, or if you get it on your skin, or if you get it in your eyes. And then danger poison, highly toxic by more than one of those. So maybe it can get you if you drink it, it can get you if it gets on your skin, you can get it if you inhale it. So it's multiple modes of entry on danger poison. And it'll have the skull. So category 4 means an LD50 for a 150-pound person is you have to have a pint of the stuff. So you can see, I mean, you really have to work, right, to take a pint of this, of mancozeb, say. But when you get into category 3, the next level, it only takes between 2 tablespoons and a pint. So that's a lot less in that range. In category 2, it's 1 teaspoon to 2 tablespoons. Remember, a teaspoon is 1/3 of a tablespoon. So you're really not getting very much there when you get into the warning area. And then the danger area, just a few drops. So that's really bad stuff when you get one that says danger. Danger poison means those few drops can injure you through more than one mode of entry, either through inhaling, ingesting, skin, or eye contact. Okay. It's not like you're going to drink this stuff, right? But you can spill it on yourself, and that's not that rare of a thing to happen. The LD50 for skin contact is usually the same as the LD50 for oral. So that was sort of a surprise to me, but getting it on your skin is just as bad as just chug-a-lugging it. So you have to be careful.
The wind could blow it back at you too.
Yeah, but the wind is for this one. The wind is going to be worrying about your eyes. Okay, so let's look at some of them, what they say on this. Conserve, may cause slight eye irritation. Compass, mild irritation to the cornea. Roundup, getting a little worse, moderately irritating. Honor guard, moderately irritating. Mancozeb, though, look, we use that, I use that every spray time. May cause severe eye irritation with corneal injury. That's bad stuff to get in your eye. But look at this one, rose pride. Rose pride, irreversible destruction of the ocular tissue. And that's the one that's at the box stores. The ones that we're using, you go to a nursery or Southwest Fertilizer to get, and they're a lot less dangerous than rose pride, which you can go to Home Depot and buy. It's very weird. Okay, let's go out of the lab for a second and step out in the real world. The first decision we have is to whether to spray or not. But I'm not taking a position on chemicals versus organic. I'm talking about, are the environmental conditions that you face on the day you want to spray, on the hour that you want to spray, are they really conducive to spraying? So first of all, we've got to look out for the wind, because if it's windy, not only is the stuff going to go everywhere, but it's probably going to go on you. And if you think you can predict the wind because it's all coming in the same direction, trust me, before you're through spraying, that wind's going to change and it's going to get on you. So windy conditions are very dangerous, especially for your eyes. And of course, we don't want it to be raining anytime soon, because most of this stuff has to dry on the leaves to be effective. So if it gets washed off right away, we wasted not only the money, but we wasted our precious time. So watch out for the rain. And heat. Some of these chemicals are phototoxic. And so if the sun hits the leaves right after you've applied these chemicals, sometimes it can give a chemical burn to the leaves, and you need to be aware of that. Okay, now let's talk about, you've decided that it's okay to spray. How are we going to get ready for the spray? First, we're going to get rid of the kids. It's not a time to have the kids learn about how much fun gardening is. Send them inside. Send the 4-footed kids inside too, because they're even more exposed. Pick up the dog toys that might be laying in the yard, like a tennis ball or something, because if the spray drifts on the tennis ball, the dog's not going to know that. He's going to come and start chewing that, and even though it's dried, it's still in the tennis ball. So watch out about that. And remember this too, when the chemicals are still on the leaves, don't let your dogs back out, because if your dog's like my dog, they eat grass and all kinds of things, and they might come in there and eat the stuff that you just sprayed. So give it time to dry before you let these creatures back out in the garden. What about protective gear? If you wear contacts, take them out. It's very bad if you get chemicals in your eyes and you got that contact in there. I know if you wear contacts, you've got a spare pair of glasses. Go get the spare pair of glasses and always make it a habit to take your contacts out before you spray. And if you don't, and something happens, and you didn't wear gloves and other things, you're going to be putting your chemical-enriched hands, your fingers, in your eyes to get your contacts out. That's not a good plan, so get rid of it. Also, you do not need to wear a watch when you're spraying. It's going to be over soon enough. You don't need to know how much time it took. And if you have a cloth band or a leather band, it's going to soak up those chemicals. Ditch the watch. Don't do this. Don't wear those Crocs, don't wear shorts, and don't wear short sleeve shirt when you're going out to spray. This is bad. That's, borderline crazy, but much better. These, though, are, I think, very bad. But I used to have a pair of cowboy boots that I would wear when I spray. But you think about it, the one place that you're going to get spray on, no matter how careful you are, is your feet. And if you're wearing cowboy boots, they're going to soak up into that leather. And every time, you're going to be reintroducing all those accumulated years' worth of chemicals onto your feet. So if you get these, they're not expensive, and you can hose them off when you're finished. And they're impermeable, so the chemicals that get on those rubber boots, they're going to be on the outside, not on you. Everybody sells these. Academy sells them. You can get them in some of the chemical sources I'm going to show you later. But I think that's a very valuable thing. I put my blue jean pants legs inside, so I've got protection up to my calves on that. Very good deal. Don't wear leather gloves. Once again, you're wearing gloves, great, but those chemicals are going to soak right into that. These are a little better than the ones that are carbon leather, but they're still going to soak into that too. I think these are great. Nitrile gloves. They're cheap. They're going to stop all the chemicals. You can throw them away when you finish. So that's good. Look at this. I went today and looked. In the 100 count, they're 13 cents each, Come on. We can afford that. And the box I brought here tonight, if you want to try on the size, feel free to just rip one out of there and try it on. I brought mediums, because Maria and I can both wear medium. It's a little stretch for me, but they usually are medium or large of what you're going to get, but the mediums will stretch into large pretty easily. And ours is a 250 count box, and I think they're down. I saw some on Amazon that were 7 cents a glove. Now, and these are also 4 mil gloves, so they're not real thin. But I still think that the rubber gloves are the way to go. But if I know some of you won't do that, so go get the nitrile if you're not going to do that. But that's what I like. And you can wash those off. I wash them off. Just rub them like I'm washing my hands in a sink when I'm finished, and I keep them in a separate place, and I don't use them for anything else. Goggles are good. I have a pair of goggles over there so you can see, because I wear glasses, and it's hard to get goggles that will go over your glasses, but they do make them. I got mine at Amazon. You can go see the brand. You can try them on and see if they fit over your glasses. And they've got sealed sides, and they don't fall, and it's really good. But here's my preferred, and I have that here too. This protects the top of your head, and it also, it's cool, and that's a splash guard is what that is. And I've never had any problems, and that's what I wear every time. And I really like that a lot, and you're welcome to put it on too. And I just hose it off when I'm finished because it's hard plastic, and I'll wash off anything that's gone there. But look how low that goes. And so it's really good. And you can get that on Amazon. Yeah, I think you can even get them at Home Depot. I'm not sure what they're really for. But we're going to call them rose spraying hats. I don't think that these paper filters like that do any good. But if you want to do them, be sure and get the ones that are called N95. That's the minimum OSHA standard for being able to keep stuff out. That says 2300, but it's the N95 that you look for. Get an N95 filter. They're cheap, but we don't really have the chemicals we're using. It's mostly eye danger. It's mostly danger that we're going to spill it on our hands or get it in our eyes. Not so much the breathing part. I did have a pair of these, and I got thinking that my neighbors. I wasn't really being a good rose ambassador when I would go out in Tyvek overalls and have this on. I'm thinking, wow, they're really going to think this is really bad stuff. So, but you can get them, and you can get cartridges. And I mean, if you were doing it all day long, that's what you should do. But for what we're doing, I don't use them anymore. So what are you going to spray with? This is a nice hose-on sprayer because it'll really spray a long distance. But hose-on sprayers are really pretty awful. You can't really control the dosage. And it's very important. Remember, I said everything is tied to dosage. So I really recommend that you get a pump-up sprayer. And that way you can measure it exactly. You'll know exactly that it's the right amount. get a 2 or a 3 gallon, depending on how many roses you have, and mark it with a marks a lot, some kind of a marker, so you'll know where that 1 gallon mark is. And when you figure out that you need 1.5 gallons, and mark that. Also, mark your chemicals. Mark the day you bought them, because you're going to go, how old is this mancozeb? It's been in the garage. I wonder if it still works. Well, you would know that if it's 3 years old, you probably should go get some more. And I always, how the chemicals seem to eat up those instructions on the dosage that are on there, right? So take a marker, and now what I'm using, I forget the brand, but it's an oil-based marker. It's not a Mr. Sketch or any of those. It's an oil-based marker, so that does not wear off. And just put what the application rate is. It's a tablespoon a gallon. And look each time you buy it, because sometimes, you know how they make cereal and they make candy bars? It's the same price, but there's a little less quantity than it was before. I'm not saying they do that on these chemicals, but each time you buy one, check and make sure it's still a tablespoon per gallon. Just because it was on the prior one doesn't mean that they didn't, to save money and to keep the price low, dilute it a little differently. So check that out each time, but mark it. Mark it before the first time you use it, because it'll be nice and dry, and you won't ever have to do it again. Go to the garage sale and buy you a set of cheapy plastic spoons that you dedicate to rose chemicals. Don't be thinking that your better half is going to be appreciative if you go in the kitchen and open the kitchen door and get out a half tablespoon measure spoon, and that you will totally clean it up at the end. No, just buy you, what's that, probably $1.
You can get them for $1 at the dollar store.
Well, there you go. You don't even have to go to a garage sale. I do recommend you go get one of these at Southwest Fertilizer. It's a little shot glass kind of a thing. Mini measure, and it's got it in teaspoons, tablespoons, and ounces. And that's a real good way to pour the chemical into that before you mix it. And I say mix it in a jar. But think about what kind of jar you're going to use. Don't use a jar like that. Use a jar like that one with the arrows pointing in, because you want to be able to reach the bottom with your measuring spoon. If you're using a big, tall quart jar, you won't be able to get down there. So get a squatty jar that you dedicate to mixing your chemicals. So you're going to pour the chemicals in there, and then you're going to stir it. Then you'll know that it's really mixed. Because the lazy approach is to dump it in the spray container and then start filling it with water and hope that that's going to agitate it into a mixture. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But this way, you'll be sure. And also, heat is the best way to mix things. So you've got a source of heat out in your garden, which is your hose that's been laying out there all day. I bet most of you spray at the end of the day. That hose water is hot, so you've got a source of hot water without even having to go in the house that you can make that'll help the chemicals mix together. Don't do this. Don't use the jet spray, because it's just going to shoot back out of that measure cup right all over you. What you should do if you're going to do this is you get the thing going on the spray, and then you move the container into the very edge so it gently fills up. But look at everything I'm doing wrong here. This is a staged picture. I am wearing a short sleeve shirt. I got my watch on. I got some just clunker shoes on instead of boots. Not cool. And no gloves. Not cool. Oh, here's another thing don't to do. This is not so accurate that we have to watch into the spray can when we pour it. That's very dangerous for fumes and splash from the chemicals. You can get far away and still, I think you'll still be able to hit the mark on the spray off by not being so close. Then you can use that to agitate it together, but remember, you're going to be agitating fumes too. So stay away when you do that, if that's the way you do it. Keep your chemicals in an area where pets and kids can't get to them, up on a high shelf. Now let's talk about, I want to show you some more about the labels on the stuff we use. Here's Conserve, it's a category 3 caution. Rose Pride, though, it has a danger label. It's shocking to me. I didn't really, couldn't believe that. And corrosive to the eyes. That's what's the MSDS, that's the material safety data sheet. That's what it says on that. If you have a spill on like your patio or something, cat cat litter is the best way to absorb that stuff. So even if you don't have a cat, keep a bag of cat litter in your garage so that if you have a spill, you can just pour it on it, and it will just soak all that stuff up, and you can sweep it up and get rid of it. City of Houston and probably most cities around have a chemical disposal place if your chemicals are getting old. But you usually have to take proof that you are a taxpayer in that entity, so a utility bill or something like that could be demanded. And also they have crazy hours, and some of them even have quantities, like you can't bring 20 gallons of stuff. So they're really weird, but that's Houston's. Okay, what do we do if we've got extra product still in the spray dock when we finish? Well, first of all, keep track. I mean, you're probably going to have the same number of roses. If you're like me, you're already running out of space to put roses in, so if you want to buy new roses, you have to get rid of one that you already have, so you know how much chemical you're going to need to spray everything. So only make up that amount. And that means if it's 1.5 gallons, don't make up 2 gallons because you're not good at math. Figure it out, what 1.5 gallons is. Write it on the thing. Don't just go to 2 so you can multiply it, whatever the 1 gallon is, double it. No. Do it right, because you got to get rid of that stuff. And on the first time when you misestimate it, just keep spraying the roses. It won't hurt them to get some little extra. So go back through and spray, and do less next time. Do not do this. In the Heights, they have, this is not in the Heights, in the Heights, they have the signs on some of the great saying that this dumps right into Galveston Bay. So please don't pour your chemicals down the storm drain. Okay, let's talk about cleanup. You need to clean up your sprayer. Your sprayer will last practically forever if you do a couple of things. One is just clean it when you're through. And the second one to me is I leave about maybe a quart or so of water in the bottom so it doesn't dry out and cake up in the bottom. And I also run some through the nozzle when I'm through of pure water. Wash your gloves and boots outside. And when you do your sprinkles, and I have an outfit that I wear, just jeans and a long sleeve shirt, but it's the one I use every time. And when I'm finished, I take it up and I wash it by itself in the washing machine. Don't throw it in the clothes hamper to get everybody else contaminated with it. Just go do it. And then take a shower. Remember that scene? And don't forget to wash your glasses. Because if anything went wrong, you don't want those chemicals right next to your eyes all the next day. What do you do if chemicals get in your eyes? The main thing is time is of the essence. You have to act quickly. Start rinsing your eyes immediately. This is what OSHA wants you to use. It's a professional spray station, and their regs are that you have to stay in there for 15 minutes. I doubt if anybody does that, but that's still what they say, 15 minutes. These are pretty good, and I brought one of them today that I got on Amazon because I also do some soldering, and you don't want to get solder spray in your eyes, so you can buy these containers of saline solution, and if you got anything in your eye, you just sit there and take a shower with it. That's what it's designed for. It's an eye wash. You can go check it out over there, but it looks sort of like this. If you're out and about, you can keep one on your hip, but usually we're just in our backyards, and so it's easy to go run to it. But these are eye cups that spray right in your eyes, but this is probably what we're going to use, right? The hose. So just have the hose ready, and if you get something in your eye, just wash it out thoroughly. And maybe not 15 minutes, maybe, but at least for 3 or 4 minutes. Just take a shower out there in your eyes to get that stuff out of it. Rosemania.com is an excellent resource. Write it down and go to them because they have, not only do they have all kinds of the latest, greatest chemicals for our roses, they also have a section on their homepage called Miscellaneous. See it second from the end there? And it has a drop-down menu. And it has, on the drop-down menu, it says catalogs and downloads. And you want to go to downloads. and you'll get this. Their spray reference. Print it, put it in a page protector, or laminate it and put it in your garage. This will tell you the dosages when you forget.
Would you go back one slide so we can write down that?
rosemania.com.
You said go to miscellaneous.
Oh yeah, go to miscellaneous on their webpage, and then it'll have 2 drop-down menus. One, it's like catalog, slant downloads, and quick downloads.
A little red button.
Yeah. So miscellaneous right there, and then downloads, and it'll bring up this. They used to have it on the front where it was easy to find. It was sort of hidden in a little bit, but it's still there. So go to that, and it'll tell you how often you have to spray. See that middle column, how good that stuff is, and what the dosage is, how many teaspoons per gallon. And it also gives the warning labels over there on what it is. You won't see Rose Pride there because I don't think they sell Rose Pride, so we don't have any danger ones from Rosemania.
There's a document on culture.
Oh, that's right.
It's pretty bad stuff.
They also have on their page for all these chemicals, see where it says click here for product label? You click that and it's going to have the exact label. So you can see what it says about all this stuff I've been telling you about. So for almost every chemical, look on every one of these, click for product label, click for product label. I put that up, Mancozeb is $21. That's pretty good. Compass, I think, is in the $200 range now.
Compass is almost 500.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
But it says not for sale in those states, is that because they're not allowing it in their state?
It could, for California, that's probably true. But for the rest of them, it could be that you have to buy a certain pesticide license to sell this stuff. It can be a tax thing. It could just be a tax thing.
I might add that if you contact them and order a product, they generally ship it within 24 hours.
So they're fast, and they're very knowledgeable too, yes.
Well, if you add a surfactant to any of these chemicals, does that alter any of that either?
No, it's just going to keep it on the leaves longer. That's what the
I mean,
surfactant
it
does.
doesn't intensify the chemical.
No. And also, I use indicate when I mix my chemicals up, which is a pH adjuster to make it more benign, make it more effective. And so it's called indicate. I think they sell indicate also.
Indicate 5.
Indicate 5. Was there a 4? I don't know. Okay, so let's go shift a little bit to the bees for a moment. This is me in my backyard in the Heights. So I have 2 beehives in the Heights. There they are. And I've been a beekeeper since 1999 in the Heights. So I've got these 2 hives there, and they produce quite a bit of honey each year. The EPA has taken an interest of late in what they call pollinators, which is more than just bees. And if you go to this site, just go to EPA pollinators, you're going to come up with this page. And what the EPA is doing is they're studying the problem. They're spending money. They don't have any conclusions anywhere on their page about anything except that we need to study this problem. And that pollinators are very important. And they use the term pollinators because that's the politically correct term. But really, the pollinator that really counts is the European honeybee. And there's a few reasons why that is. First of all, they're the best pollinators, and almost all the pollination that's done, and all the commercial pollination that's done, is by honeybees, not by bumblebees and not by solitary bees. And one reason is a hive has 60,000 bees, one hive. So that's a lot of workers. A bumblebee, you might see 1 or 2 or 3 bumblebees in your yard, and if you look, you're going to see thousands of honeybees when things are in bloom. So there's just sheer numbers. There's just plenty of them. And there's not plenty of any other kind of pollinator. Also, honeybees have what's called constancy. And that is what makes this work. A bee goes to, say, you've got a lemon tree in your backyard, and it's blooming. The bee goes there, attracted by the smell, starts playing around with the blooms. It doesn't wander over to the orange tree that's next to it. It stays on the lemon tree. And so it's transferring the pollen from one lemon bloom to the next. If it was flying over to the orange tree, that wouldn't work. It wouldn't pollinate it because that's the wrong pollen. So when a bee finds something, and by the way, 99.8% of all the bees you see are females. All the workers are females. There's just a few guys, and they stay in the hive all day long. They don't do any work, and the women feed them, and they exist for the one thing, well, one of the one things guys like to do, and that's to impregnate the queen. That's their job, and that's their only job. But it's not all that good of a life because when winter comes, the girls just kick them out to die because they can raise the new crop of drones next year. But all the bees you see are going to be female. And they're all going to stay, when they pick a flower, they're going to stay on it. And what they do is, let's say they find an orange tree that is really full of blooms. Well, they'll mess around with it and load up with pollen and nectar, and they will fly back to the hive, and they will do what's called a waggle dance, where they move their butts back and forth, and they will tell the rest of the bees in the hive, hey, I found a great place for us to go. And they will signal how far away it is, because closer stuff, even if it might not be as many blooms, is better than great blooms that are too far away, right? So they'll signal how far away it is and how many blooms it is, and they will try to get a crowd to come with them and follow them back to that point. So that's why if you have a lot of one kind of bloom, you're going to more likely see bees on it than if you just have a solitary flower, because the bees aren't going to get excited by just one flower. But if there's, like Mexican heather, where it's all in bloom at once, they're going to get really excited because there's more for them to do, and they're going to go back, get their sisters, and come back. But constancy is what makes pollination actually possible. Okay, so the EPA uses the term pesticides, which includes both fungicides and insecticides. So when you hear somebody talking and they talk about pesticides, we really don't know much yet, because fungicides are a lot different than insecticides, especially when insects are concerned. So we have to look. But common rose fungicide labels, almost every fungicide, every fungicide that I found that we use is safe for bees, and almost never is there a warning label on them about bees at all. And they have to have a bee warning label if they're a threat to bees. So Mancozeb, Compass, Bannermax, Honor Guard, Claries, none of those have bee labels. Insecticides, different problem. So let's look at some of the common ones we might use. Conserve. So here's the label. You go there, environmental hazards, and you see toxic to bees for 3 hours following treatment. So if you're using it, then you can kill bees with this product while it's wet, basically, for 3 hours, is what they make them say. Maverick, toxic to fish and aquatic. Product toxic to honeybees if bees are exposed to direct application. So they're saying if the bees are there when you're spraying it, that's direct application. However, the dried residues of this product are non-toxic. So see how specific they are? That's all dictated by law. They have to say this about bees. They have to give this kind of detail. Pyrethrin, of course. Do not apply to blooming crops or weeds when bees are visiting the treatment area. Except, of course, if it's to save human lives, and then it's okay. They added that there. So if it's a threat to the public or animal health, then okay, we'll relax the rules then, but no other. Neem oil. Do not apply to water. Product toxic to bees exposed to direct treatment. Do not apply to this product while bees are actively visiting the treatment area. So that's neem. Sort of sometimes considered a bit more benign product than others, but it's pretty bad for bees. Horticultural oils, no labels. No labels for Monterey, so hey, we're giving some away tonight and it's bee friendly. So no product, bee labels on that. This is the stuff that kills bees. This is what beekeepers use to kill bees. If bees are in your house and you've got somebody there that's trying to get rid of them and they have to kill them, one thing, soapy water will kill bees. But 7 dust is just really bad stuff. Whoops. And it says here, may kill honeybees and other bees. Well, that may part is not even true. It will kill them. This is really bad stuff. I would recommend don't ever use 7 dust around anywhere that's got bees. Okay, now bees don't really like roses because the kind of roses we like, the kind of roses Baxter loves, the pointy, cindered ones, well, there's nothing for them there to get to. They can't even get to the pollen. So singles they like, and fully open they like, but regular roses, they're just not that fond of. So if you're going to spray and you want to be concerned about the bees, which I hope you will, bees are going to be on your roses when they're fully open. And it's really not a big deal on roses with bees. If you spray at the end of the day, most of the bees, they go home. They're in their hive, and so you're going to have that time where they're not going to be out at your roses, even if they like them. They're just not going to be exposed.
Donald, what about the early morning?
In the early morning, it's probably okay also because your blooms aren't open yet, right? They're going to open a little later.
Yeah.
But if you walk your garden, I bet you're going to be hardly ever seeing bees on the roses. You'll see bees in your garden because you might have some other plants around, but not on the roses generally. At least I got 100 roses and I just don't see bees on them very often. I had to go to Congo Nursery to get some pictures of bees on roses. And I think they were there because everything was in bloom there and not much was in bloom anywhere else in Houston, so they went there. And always check to see if there will be a label on the label on environmental hazards. They'll mention bees if it's especially bad for them. But it's not a big deal for us, just so that you're aware of it. So as you can see, this is a more open rose and the bees like it. Okay, where can you buy some of this stuff other than the chemicals? And you can actually, I think I saw Amazon was selling magazine. So, but Amazon is a really good source for everything, and they sell almost everything that I talked about. And they will also have those people writing in about their experiences with the product. And although you got to take everything with a grain or two of salt, it's still a good idea. It's nice feedback about whether that works or not. Or Amazon will put it out where you can go buy it cheaper from somewhere else, and they'll tell you where you can go buy it cheaper. They don't censor the ads as near as I can tell. And often a crummy ad is right toward the top. So I don't know, they're pretty even-handed about it. Giblards is another place that I've used. They're pretty good for lots of this equipment kind of stuff. Uline, they have a really wonderful, giant catalog. And you just write them once and you'll get their catalogs for the rest of your life. And they got lots of interesting stuff. It's fun to thumb through a Uline catalog. Enviro Safety Products has been around a long time, and they've got a lot of stuff that's geared toward the environment and safety in the environment. So I sort of like that place too. So what we're trying to do is strike a balance between too little and too much. So we don't really need to go that far. So I got 10 basic rules on what you should be doing about your spraying. Read and follow the label. You hear that all the time, but it's really important, especially for getting that dose right. And consulting rosarians tell you this all the time, and it's really true. If it says a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons is not twice as good. It's probably not even as good as 1 tablespoon. They are paying tons of money for scientists to figure out what the proper dose is. And, you know, we're losing a lot of our chemicals, and one of the reasons we're losing them is because you guys are putting 2 tablespoons when it says 1, thinking that it'll be twice as good, and then we get problems in the environment. So really follow the label. They want that product to work. They don't want you to not buy it again because it didn't work, and they know what the proper dosage is. And really, really, really put your kids and your pets inside for long enough for this stuff to dry. Don't just let them out when you're finished because the stuff is still wet. And wear some kind of rubber gloves, either the nitrile gloves or the chemical gloves, but wear gloves. You know, the most time even careful people are going to get exposure is when they're pouring those chemicals. You're pouring the chemical into that shot glass, it can get on your hand. You're pouring it into the sprayer, it can get on your hands. Wear gloves. And watch out for splashing, and watch out for those vapors kicking up from the sprayer. And this is really important. Wear rubber boots, because your feet are where all that spray is landing. And you don't want to get it on you. And this is, I think, the most important one. I wear glasses, right? If they're not good, glasses are just like a half measure. Wear goggles or wear that helmet. Get that helmet. That helmet's great, and it's not even hot. That's great. And it doesn't, some of those goggles, they just feel claustrophobic, but the helmet doesn't. Really big on that helmet. And if you've got that helmet, then you've got scalp protection. If you're bald or balding, or even if you got a full head of hair, if that stuff gets on your head, your scalp is a very porous area that chemicals can go right into. Maybe if you're not going to listen to me on all these things, when you go to a hotel, get those shower caps. Don't use them at the hotel. Take them home and put them at least a shower cap on your head. Keep it off your scalp. And this is not a time to be cool. Don't wear a t-shirt or a polo shirt. Wear a long sleeve shirt. You're not going to be out there that long, and if it's cotton, it's really not going to be that hot. But wear long sleeves and wear long pants. I don't want to see you guys in Bermuda shorts out there spraying your roses. It's crazy. And wash up everything when you're finished. And if you do, then you can have roses like in my garden or the garden in Portland, which is what that is. But anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll take questions.